Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today's kind of like the second part of this unofficial investing series that I've been doing. Like I said, we've been going about, yesterday we actually had the video on kind of high level how to invest within crypto, some big things to be thinking about, where to look, a lot of that type of stuff. Today is more of like the very like quantitative in the weeds, like I'm pretending that I'm investing $100,000 today. This is what I would invest it in. This is how, a lot of that type of stuff. I may even do like a potential third video where I'm calling out like specific tokens. Today I'm breaking it down into like, okay, this is kind of high level. We've identified some of the projects we're interested in. Here's how to like allocate funds. This is how I would think about a lot of that type of stuff. Hopefully you find it useful. If you do, please just give me a like and a subscribe. Let me know. Also give me a comment. Let me know what you really enjoyed or appreciated about it. If you had anything that you think I could do better or improve on. Also, I love to hear the constructive feedback as well. So anyway, let's go on ahead, dive right in. Let's check it out. This is how I would invest 100K. So as we can see, the first off, step one, this is actually, before we get into this and we do step one, let's do step zero, which is, this is not financial advice. This is all just my opinion, hopefully just giving you ideas of how to kind of think about this type of stuff, contextualize. If you are new, I know the crypto space can be a little bit overwhelming. So this is not at all meant to be financial advice. This is just more of like essentially giving you ideas of, how to think about things. Potentially if you are looking to invest, maybe you could take some of these ideas. You can see here, there are actually some items here that I've allocated 0%. And this is mainly for your information and for your education. So you can see like, this is not something that I'm interested in, but this is something that people do and can be successful in. And this is where we'll get to step one, which is I'm going to play to my strength. That's step one, right? I mean, that's the most important thing you can do within crypto. Just because I may be able to make a ton of money leverage trading doesn't mean that you can, right? And so, if you have to kind of test things out, figure out what you're good at, figure out what you're not good at. If you get super freaked out by short-term moves in the market, maybe you should not be doing or allocating almost anything to long-term, because you might be selling the dips and buying the tops. So, that's something to think about as well. You have to be playing to your strengths. Part of how you find your strengths is you just kind of have to figure it out and learn a little bit about yourself and about crypto, a lot of that type of stuff. So in the meantime, don't be investing more than you can afford to lose, because all of us have done it. We've all lost money in crypto, but we come out the other side usually learning a ton about ourselves and crypto and investing and human psychology and all this and crazy important fun stuff. And then we can kind of figure out what we're good at, and if we leverage that well, then we can make money from there. So that's step one, play to your strengths. Going on, I want to kind of break down how we're doing this. So first off, we have 100,000. This could be 10,000, this could be 1,000, this could be whatever. I actually have this all formulated. So, if I pick 10,000, then the numbers just change. Nothing really changes overall. I'm just picking 100,000 because it's more flashy, I guess. I don't know. It's a little bit arbitrary. The other thing I want to make very clear is any profits that I do make, I would probably reinvest differently than how I would invest these initially. And there's a reason for that. There's 50% I would probably go to like midterm, 40% to long-term, and 10% to short-term. Now, the reason why I would reinvest profits differently than how I initially invested them is because, again, if I am making profits, I kind of want to be changing my strategy to give myself more of like a wealth buildup or a wealth accrual over time. So obviously, short-term is going to be very like active participation, right? Short-term trading, leverage trading, scalping, copy trading, a lot of that type of stuff. I would invest 15% of my initial funds into short-term trading because, again, it is active income generation. Again, you need to make sure that you know what you're doing. This is something that not everybody can do, but I would allocate 15% of it to short term. Assuming I am doing well, obviously I'd continue reallocating some profits to short term. Again, assuming that I am a profitable short-term trader, just so I can continue to like, essentially these numbers get bigger, the amounts I make get bigger, a lot of that type of stuff. But as you can see, there's a very strong bias towards longer like swing term trading, particularly long-term trading. We'll get to this kind of when we get to long-term overall, but mid I think it's pretty self-explanatory in the sense like I want to be making more on swing trading, my grid bots, staking, a lot of that type of stuff. But starting out, let's take a look at short-term trading. So obviously we've got 15% allocated here. Of the 15% allocated to short-term trading, there's kind of three main things. If there's anything you think I forgot here, please just drop it in the comment, let me know. I feel like I'm probably forgetting some things here that I'm probably going to be kicking myself when some of you point them out. But right now, like kind of the big things that I was thinking of is leverage trading, scalping, and copy trading. You may think that these are the same. They kind of are, and I have kind of an important distinction between them. So leverage trading, I would essentially split my funds between low leverage short-term swings. And so this is something between like 1 to 4 weeks. Something like, yesterday or a couple of days ago happened. We see some super strong kind of sell-offs. That's kind of the short-term swing that I'm talking about. So, maybe we buy once kind of the liquidation event has subsided and we can start to see the bounce. This is when we start to take maybe some of those low leverage short-term swings, because again, it may come back down. It may not be like an immediate bounce to the upside, but we know that it's probably going to go up over a short-ish term period of time. And so that's why I would do like a low leverage short-term swing, is to play that type of momentum. And then I also would do high leverage scalping, again, 1 to 2 days tops. High leverage scalping, in my opinion, is very dangerous just because it's crypto. Rogue wicks happen all of the time, and when you're high leverage scalping, you're very susceptible to getting liquidated on those rogue wicks. And so high leverage scalping to me is like 1 to 2 days absolute tops, maybe even shorter than that. I know people that can even play these on like minute candles. I personally am not great at doing that, so I don't do that, but it's possible. For me, high leverage scalping is essentially kind of 1 to 2 days. Again, like I said, you can do much shorter term than that, but this is something where you're talking, 10, 15, 20, 50, maybe even 100x, but this is more of like momentum plays. So similarly to what we saw a couple of days ago, after the liquidations had seemed to have subsided, people were buying the dip. We've seen a pretty nice bounce over the past couple of days. So that's something where you could potentially take a 20, 30, 50x leverage play, make 3, 4, 5, 600%, and then be out. And again, you're not looking to 2x on the coin itself. You're looking to make 5, 10, 15%. And that in itself, because you're playing such high leverage, is going to return very, very well for you. Now, next here is scalping. And maybe the wording isn't totally perfect here, but this is essentially, no leverage, because essentially you could be opening yourself up to seeing some massive downside before you start to see upside. Again, obviously that's not the goal here, but it can happen. These are going to be riskier plays. Think like meme coins, micro caps. These could even be things like going off of like pump.fun, or maybe even like recent launch like ICO type coins of like AI has been super popular recently. So we've seen a ton of micro cap AIs really run pretty hard. Those are the types of things where I'm talking about scalping. We're going to be buying something pretty low, looking for some sort of like, news or hype or narrative or something, and then they're going to run, 50, 60, 80, 100% over the course of a week or two. Those are the type of scalping plays that I'm talking about. With those, I would have a strategy where, every probably 2, maybe 3x, I'm going to be pulling 50% of my money out, get my money back, we'll kind of recycle it, keep finding more stuff like that. That's kind of how I'd probably play that. Copy trading, 0%, just because in my experience, this never plays out well. I think this is one of those where I'm sure there are copy traders that make money because so many people do it. But at least from my experience, I've never actually found a copy trader that makes money, and maybe none of them really do. And it's just one of those people just want to be lazy and find an easy way to make money, so they try it. I don't actually know, but that's why I put 0% on copy trading, because I don't really get it. I have no real desire to get it, and so I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. With midterm, this is where obviously I'm going to be allocating most of my initial capital for a couple of different reasons. Obviously, the first one, we've got airdrops. Airdrops is something you can make a pretty decent chunk of money on. I've made probably a couple $1,000s just in 2024 off of various airdrops. Again, this is new chains, projects, dApps, DEXs, wallets. There's a whole bunch of things that airdrop stuff. And so there's a little bit of kind of a finesse to figure out what could be potentially airdropping. That's kind of it, right? Nobody really knows for sure, but there's kind of different levels of speculation in terms of how likely something could be to airdrop. And so usually, essentially, you just need to use those things. This is kind of nice too, because particularly if you're new to the crypto ecosystem, this can be a really great way for you to get involved and learn how the crypto ecosystem works. So airdrops can be really nice, particularly if you're new. And also if you have a very, very low amount of money, you may even want to just focus far more on airdrops, because they can return you a pretty nice amount and can return you, potentially 3, 4, 5, 6, 10x your money. It's not going to happen if you're investing 100 grand, but if you're only investing, let's say $1,000, airdrops could potentially be some of the highest like ROI plays, especially if you're new. Now, next one is going to be swing trading. This is anything I would say like intra cycle. So if we think of like the overall crypto cycle, this is going to be anything kind of shorter than that. So, potentially short term, couple weeks, potentially couple months, potentially, multiple months, but it's going to be within kind of this like larger crypto cycle. I would not be planning on holding anything beyond that, at least in my opinion. The high conviction midterm swings is essentially what I'd be looking for there. I think NFTs, I have the belief that we're going to see NFTs come back. So if that's the case, that would be a good like kind of midterm swing. Utility tokens, we're talking about, potentially rev share, staking, airdrops. There's been some of these, like particularly the AI agent tokens. They've been doing a lot of like airdrops to other AI agent tokens. This is particularly with like the AI agent platform tokens. So things that you essentially think are going to see a lot of growth and have some sort of like potential like residual upside. That's what I'd be looking for there. This actually comes in on staking as well. We'll talk about that here in a second. It kind of could be both. So I kind of put it in both a little bit. And then also narrative plays. Think about, AI, DePIN, RWA, meme coins, a lot of that type of stuff. If you have some of these high conviction, like, maybe it's $1 million now and you're just certain it's going to hit, 50 million. These are the types of like midterm swings that I would be taking here. Mining is one I've seen people do very, very well. One of the things that we actually saw people make an absolute ton of money on in the bear market, no less, back in 2023 was Caspa mining. Caspa mining was wildly profitable for a while. I think it still is decently profitable. Price has kind of struggled a little bit on Caspa, so I don't think it's as profitable as it was. But yeah, there was a point during the bear market where Caspa mining was wildly profitable. Staking is another one. Staking is a lot of things to kind of think about here. One is like you can just stake Ethereum. There's like liquid restaking. This is one that is kind of plays into a little bit like the airdrops. Liquid restaking is one where there's a possibility that as like EigenLayer is kind of the big one. There's the possibility that as more projects kind of launch on EigenLayer, maybe you get allocated some of their token airdrops because you're restaking on EigenLayer. So there's a lot of different things like this. Also, you can stake, like I said earlier, some of these tokens that you think may have like rev share. If you expect, let's say, there's a project that makes $10,000 a month and they distribute, let's say 50% of their profits to stakers, and you think they're going to be making $1 million a month. Obviously, that's going to be a massive increase in the amount actually distributed to you. And so because of that, you would expect the value of the token is going to go up massively as well. So not only are you going to have the token appreciation, but you're going to have the increase of like the passive income coming from the rev share on that token. That's something that I would also consider in like the staking bucket as well. The last one here on the midterm is the grid bot. Grid bots I actually think are really, really nice. You can set them up a whole bunch of different ways, but this is essentially like for passive income, again, of sorts, essentially just playing crypto's volatility. Grid bots are really, really nice in crypto just because crypto is so volatile. So think about this as like, think about the recent dip that we had. Essentially how grid bots do is like you take a pot of money, you split it 50% between cash and 50% between the asset you want to trade. And ideally, the like best case scenario is like, let's say it has a price between $1 and $100. The best case scenario for you using a grid bot would be it goes up to 100, down to 1, up to 100, down to 1, up to 100, down to 1. And the more times it did that in a day, week, month, or whatever, the more money that you're going to make. Because essentially what it does is as price goes down, it buys more of whatever asset. And then as price goes up, it sells off more into cash. And then again, when price goes down, it buys more. And essentially you're just kind of collecting the spread as you do that. So grid bots can be, like I said, they can be a very, very profitable thing, but ultimately you want something that's highly volatile. However, the risk to grid bots is if you pick, some trash meme coin or whatever, and it does all of this, but then all of a sudden it goes to zero, well, you now hold 100% of an asset that's now worthless. So there is a little bit of a risk in the sense that like the asset that you're essentially using as collateral, you have to have some level of like conviction in, because if you don't, you're just going to hold 100% of a useless asset. So, that's the only risk with grid bot. Moving into long term, this is a lot more like simple and straightforward to me. The way that I view investing in crypto long term is pretty black and white. Mostly, I don't actually expect to hold any altcoins longer than midterm. There's a very small exception that I'll make here, potentially with staking. Everything else is just essentially holding for long term. The only thing that I would be holding long term basically Bitcoin, and that's about it. Stable coins, of course, just if you want to, like, if you're expecting a crash and you want to hold some cash in crypto, but don't want to be subject to the volatility, stables are a good way. And then other like max, and I mean max in fully capitalized letters, conviction coins, because probably you're going to see these coins bleed 60, 70, 80, 90% in the bear market. Again, if the past is to be a guide for the future, you're going to see some unbelievable bleeding out of these coins. And so they truly have to be max conviction coins, because your conviction will be tested. I guarantee you that. And so overall, 85% of my long-term would be in the HODL category. Again, for me, it's like pretty much Bitcoin. I have talked a little bit on my previous episode or my previous videos about, I do have some pretty serious conviction on ICP, and I am considering locking up and staking. Again, this could maybe go in this category, and locking up and staking some of those coins for the 8 years for like the maximum staking bonuses. So that is something I'm considering. Haven't done it yet, but like that is what I'm talking about, of like, you really have to be super like committed and have high conviction in some of these. Now, the last but not least here is obviously staking. This is essentially like mega appreciation of rev share / value accrual tokens. Again, the only reason I'm holding some of these in the HODL is because if you're expecting, you're at $10,000 a month now, you expect it to go up to $1 million a month. Even in the bear market, if their revenues drop, let's say 90% or even 95%, that still should be 5 to 10x of where you're at currently, right? And so long term, that is kind of like a passive income play. And again, it's more passive income than really anything else. Also, if you do want to do staking, again, as I mentioned kind of at the beginning of the video, or I guess in the previous video when I was talking about stable coins, and I was saying that stable coins kind of really aren't an investment, but like this is kind of how they could be an investment, because you could essentially like do a liquidity pool and stake stable coins. So you could say like USDC to USDT, USDT to Bitcoin, something again that you have very, very high conviction in, and you could essentially be like in the liquidity pool there, where you're staking and collecting some of those transaction fees as they come in. Again, it's not going to return you, 50, 80, 100% a year. It's going to be like probably 4 to 5%, but still better than nothing. And if you are looking to be exposed to the crypto ecosystem, it can be a really, really good option, and a really like somewhat risk-free option. Again, considering that this is crypto, and crypto is inherently risky, all that good type of stuff. So anyway, that's kind of like my overall thoughts of how I'd invest 100K. Hopefully it was useful. I'm thinking, like I said, of potentially making a third video talking about like, I would buy this coin and that coin and this coin, getting a little bit more, even like kind of more specific. I am a little hesitant to do that, just again, because if you are a beginner, I don't want you just blindly copying me, because I think that's a horrible idea. I'm hopeful that this type of video is like kind of specific enough of exactly like how I would split my money, but it's not naming any names specifically, giving you some of that flexibility to do your own research and find a lot of that type of stuff. But please leave me some comments. Let me know your thoughts. If you would be interested in kind of like a third follow-up video where I get even more specific than this, I'd love to hear it. Just leave me a comment. But yeah, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, like I said, please do give me a like and a subscribe, because it really does help me out. Also, you can press that bell to stay notified for when I post more videos. I do post videos daily, so if you want to kind of stay following along and with keeping up with the crypto space and a lot of what's going on, that'd be a great way to do it. Like I said, also, please just leave me any comments if you have any comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, feelings, whatever. I do try to read and respond to all of those, so if you have anything that you want me to see, that'd be a really great way to do it. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.